Hello and welcome to the AZ-900 Microsoft Azure Fundamental Training Series. Today we will explore an essential Azure concept, which is the core Azure architectural components, and we will focus mainly on the Azure Physical Infrastructure. In this video, we are going to break things down into easy to understand pieces. We will look specifically at Azure data centers, regions, the availability zones. We will explain the region pairs and sovereign regions. By the end, you will have a clear foundational understanding of how Azure physically manages and organizes its cloud resources. My name is Bilel MAROUEN. I'm Azure Solutions Architect and Microsoft Trainer. Let's get started. First, let's talk about Azure data centers, which are buildings where hosting your workloads. Well, imagine we have a web application that we are looking to host into Azure. First of all, we will require one or multiple virtual machines. Then we will be requiring a SQL database and we will require a virtual network. And in order to run everything to host the virtual machines, the SQL databases, and so on, we will require to have servers installed. We will be requiring as well some firewalls, routers, and so on. And these are installed in a location which is called a data center. And for this data center to run, this will be requiring to cool down all the hardware that we are installing. We will require as well to have sufficient power, and we will be requiring internet access as we are accessing everything through internet. So all these components to work properly, we will require to have some people to run and operate everything in the cloud. Now, let me take you in a virtual tower in a data center and share with you impressive details about how a data center is made and some interesting numbers as well. And here we will go to the Microsoft Data Center Towers and click on the Explore and click on Start Exploring. And here is a closer look on the data center. Let's get inside and click on this map view here and go to the server room, for example. I will put in the description below the link to go and check all the components of the data center. So here, the server room, it's basically where we will have all the computing and storage capacity stored into a rack of servers, properly installed, maintained with some electricity sources, cooling, and everything else. So here, if we click on these small icons, we will have more details about, like for example here, the infrastructure and virtual machines. And if we click on this blue icon, for example, we will see some information about the server capacity, and the Microsoft Cloud is used by 95% of Fortune 500 companies. So as you can see here, we have a lot of details. I invite you to go through all of them, and this will be explaining for you a lot of concepts. Let's get a closer look on the hot easels. This is the behind the racks. So let's click on this here. And as you can see, Microsoft takes the sustainability very seriously, and they are investing in capabilities to help reuse all the heat that get emitted by the servers. Then let's exit this easel, and then let's have a look on the mechanical area, for example. And here we find like the backup power for this data center to run, and for each megawatt of data center capacity, Microsoft typically has just over 1 megabyte of battery power, and this will be able to run all the data center for 48 uninterrupted hours before refueling. Here we can have ideas about the sustainability and then how the modern data center cooling is working. So this is very huge infrastructures that are set up in order to uh, ensure that the water usage is as low as possible. Microsoft takes all these components very seriously. So today, Microsoft counts more than 300 data centers around the world, spread across more than 60 regions at the time of recording this video. This represents 442,000 kilometers of networks and more than 190 point of presence from the network perspective. And this makes Microsoft Azure the biggest public cloud provider in the world. Let's have a look on the globe infrastructure. And here we see that they have data centers everywhere around the world on all continents. So, in other terms, an Azure region is a geographical area on the planet containing one or more data centers that are interconnected via low latency networking. And thanks to these regions, Microsoft provides the ability for customers to choose the closest regions to their end users, and this will reduce the latency for the applications and their workloads and make things more efficient when it comes to performance. And now let's move on to Azure Availability Zones, which are composed of one or multiple data centers. Availability zones are physically separated data centers within the same Azure region. Each region counts at least three availability zones, and each zone will have independent power, cooling, and networking infrastructure to protect workloads against failures. However, not all regions will have availability zones enabled, and the number of availability zones will vary according to the region. So imagine you have a business e commerce application and you want your website to always be running even if one Azure data center experiences an outage. The outage could be a power issue or a cooling issue or a hardware issue as well. By deploying your application into multiple availability zones, you will significantly reduce the risk of downtime. But keep in mind, Azure guarantees an impressive availability SLA up to 99.99% when using availability zones. This is phenomenal reliability for critical applications like for banking and financial transactions. So, Azure Availability Zones will protect us from a data center failure. But imagine if an entire region failed. Here comes the region pairs into picture. Azure region pairs are simply two regions within the same geographical area intentionally paired together. These regions are distant enough to reduce the risk of simultaneous outages caused by regional events like natural disasters or floods. For example, East US is paired with West US, or North Europe region is paired with West Europe region. Azure uses this setup during planned software updates or disaster recovery scenarios, ensuring only one region from each pair undergoes maintenance at a time, keeping your solution continuously protected and operational. Finally, let's discuss Azure sovereign regions. Sometimes special requirements, particularly from governments or regulated industries, demand cloud resources to be isolated and operated within specific geographical and regulatory boundaries. Azure sovereign regions are designed explicitly for these needs. For example, US government agencies have a dedicated region which caters specifically to strict compliance and legal frameworks unique to these territories. This Azure region is operated by Screened US, and this has additional compliance certification. So let's have a quick recap. Today we have covered Azure data centers, where Azure physically stores and manages your cloud services securely. Then the Azure regions, which are geographic areas containing connected Azure data centers for hosting cloud services closer to the users. Then we have seen the availability zones, which are physically separated data centers within an Azure region that provide redundancy and higher reliability. Next, we have seen the region pairs, two Azure regions paired up geographically to ensure high availability during disasters and updates. And finally, the sovereign regions, which are specialized Azure regions that meet government and industry compliance requirements. Thanks very much for joining me today. I hope you find this video valuable. If you enjoyed this session, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for future videos. In our next video, we will dive deeper into Azure Management Infrastructure. See you next time in the AZ-900 Microsoft Azure Fundamentals Training Series. Happy cloud learning. Bye bye.